Two prison guards in New York have been arrested for falsifying reports on the night that Jeff Epstein died in his cell. You know, as you look at this more and more, it's pervasive in the prison system, isn't it? But tell me, lay this story out. Who are these guys that didn't do their job? Tell us the story.
You have these two guys, and they were in charge of this entire block of prison cells the evening Epstein died. And basically, the next morning, they came in, and the supervisor said, "What happened?" And the two guards said, "Listen, we didn't do any checks on anybody." And so then they went back, almost back in time, as it were, took the logs, then wrote in that we did do the checks after they had told their supervisor they did not. So it was known they didn't do the checks, but then they were allowed to go back in and change those logs to say that we did, in fact, do those checks. They sat there, they were looking on it, the internet, they were reading, they weren't doing their job.
8 hours.
8 hours.
8 hours, they failed to do any check. They're supposed to do it on a regular system, especially after Epstein comes off a suicide watch. First of all, he never should have been back in that cell after the suicide watch.
Right, they didn't even follow protocol on that. He was supposed to be evaluated by a mental health professional and cleared. They didn't do this. There is nothing about this story that makes any sense. Even with this, I believe these two guys have become the new fall guys.
Well, let me talk about that just a second. The union, the prison guard union, is saying, "Oh, gee, we're understaffed. We can't do this." You know, 1,000 reasons why things are wrong in the prison system, and there's no question that's true. But in this situation, none of that is relevant, because these two people had a very specific job to do. Doesn't involve whether they were there to do the job. Instead, they were sleeping on the job. They were surfing the internet. They were hanging out in some rec room doing nothing, rather than simply doing their job. Now, they're looking at potential 5 years in prison. And, you know, where it comes to falsifying records like that, if they'll do it in a case like this, we've seen it. We've handled cases in this law firm where people have ended up dead in their cell, and we've seen falsified records. So this is a problem they got to solve.
It is, but it also, again, it only raises more questions. If what they're saying is true, and yeah, we simply didn't go do the checks, and then we falsified the records. Okay, well, that's bad enough. You're going to be punished for that. What else is happening here? Can we get these guys alone in an interrogation room and ask them the real questions? Did somebody tell you to say this? Did somebody tell you to falsify these records? I mean, I hate to go into that whole conspiracy,
well, you're not
but nothing about it is normal. Nothing about this
you're not the only one raising those issues. I mean, sometimes you'll hear some, off-the-wall conspiracy notion, but this is coming from a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
Some of these questions being asked, and I know it all ties together in some form or fashion, but where I look at this story in particular, I really hate to hear the excuse, "Gee whiz, we're overworked and understaffed." That, I get it. That probably is true. But it still doesn't forgive that for 8 hours, these cats did nothing, knowing he was a high risk. And the question was always out there. There are a lot of people that wanted to do this guy out.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to get rid of that. Internationally, exactly. And so I don't know. I look at this story. I don't buy into the union's argument. Oh, these poor, pitiful guys, they were just overworked. No, they weren't. You're there to do a job. Do the job. Go, at least go in 8 hours. Go check at least one time. They checked nothing, not one time in that 8 hour span.